Well, everyone and their mother have been playing and enjoying Bleach, Rebirth of Souls. I decided it's a good time to check out another Bleach game. One, that fun fact, was actually the last console Bleach game released for over 10 years. And the game I'm talking about is Bleach Soul Resurrection, or Resurrection in English. It's a PlayStation 3 exclusive and I wanted to play it for the longest time. In general, it's a hack and slash game that follows the story from the invasion of Hyukomondo all the way to Ichigo's battle with Aizen in Karakura Town. Just a quick side note, I'm not super familiar with Bleach and all of its characters, so please don't flame me too hard if I mess some names up. This game has a bunch of different modes to choose from, but we'll start our journey with the story mode and the gameplay as a whole. The story mode is basically split into 14 chapters, and almost every chapter you play as a different character. Each chapter begins with a wall of text that explains the story moments happening between the chapters, or at the start gives a summary of the Bleach story up to this arc. I have to say that the transitions from the loading screen to gameplay is pretty smooth. Each character has their own small one-liner they say before the battle starts. The representation of the story moments is pretty lacking here. If you are like me and enjoy experiencing and understanding the story throughout the games itself, you'll probably walk away with more questions than answers. The game cuts a lot, and I mean a lot of key story moments, most of which are just explained in those text dumps before each chapter. The flow of each chapter is simple. You move down 2 stages full of countless enemies and then face off against the final boss at the end. These boss fights are usually introduced with the in-game cutscenes, and I have to say, the character models actually look really good, especially during certain story moments. During fights, you'll also witness some short dialogues between characters relevant to the part of the story. In few cases, the game does a surprisingly decent job of showing emotion just through facial animations. Also, I have to give props to the Japanese voice acting, it's really solid throughout. Other than that, that's about it regarding the story mode. You do the same thing across all 14 chapters, switching characters each time, and then the mode just ends. I have to say that only 2 of the 14 boss fights felt truly unique, those being the battle against Espada number 0 and Aizen in his final form. In those fights, the boss actually use gimmick attacks that you have to dodge. The rest, just regular 1v1 fights against the story's antagonists. The ending though, oh boy, it's straight up lackluster at best. After we defeat Aizen, we witness Ichigo transform into his Mugetsu form in a cutscene. In a freaking cutscene! And then he just slashes Aizen in half. And that's it. We don't even get to play as this version of Ichigo, which is such a huge letdown. After completing each chapter, you're given a rank. The rank depends on multiple aspects, like how many enemies you defeated, how many attacks you landed, how fast you completed the chapter, how many soul points you gathered, which are actual experience points in this game, and the difficulty you played on. There are 3 difficulty types: normal, hard, and very hard. The battles take place in corridor-like stages where as you move forwards, enemies spawn in waves. The locations vary, from Hyukomondo to fake Karakura Town to Soul Society and even inside Las Noches. Enemy variety shifts between Soul Reapers, Arancars and Hollows. Each of these have their own subtypes. Some enemies fight from range, some rush you in close quarters, and then there are these annoying flying freaks that just zip around non-stop. There are also small mini-bosses that pop up from time to time. The bosses for each enemy type vary with different abilities. For Hollows, we have these annoying turtle enemies that spin around and deal massive damage. For Arancars, we have these tentacle enemies that also deal good damage if not dealt with quickly, and for Soul Reapers, the notable ones are these brutes, which are easy to defeat. In some parts of the stages, you'll be locked in small arenas and forced to clear out all of the enemies or these mini boss type enemies in order to proceed. Now, here's the funny part, you can literally just fly past almost all of the enemies and rush straight to the boss. The game doesn't really punish you for it either, unless you're going for a high rank. Oh, and you might have noticed the stages have debris and breakable objects lying around. If you destroy them, you earn extra soul points and can extend your slash combo count, which also contributes to the final rank. So yeah, if you're trying to S-rank a stage, don't forget to go full demolition mode. Okay, enough yapping about the gameplay. How do you actually slay enemies as a Soul Reaper? The available options you can use in battle are somewhat limited. You have 3 main action buttons. The square button lets you perform a standard string attack combo, the triangle button acts as a projectile attack, and circle button performs a special move. The projectile and special attacks both consume a meter called spiritual pressure. You can refill this either by picking up blue soul orbs scattered on the stage or by letting it slowly regenerate over time. Aside from that, you can also pick up health orbs, which replenishes the health, and ignition orbs, which unlocks this side meter. Once you've dealt enough damage and landed enough slashes, you'll fill up your ignition meter. Side note, in my opinion the name ignition sounds weird, but I think that has to do something with the game being called Soul Ignition in Japan, but okay. When activated, this lets your character awaken. Each character's awakening is different. Some will get a full moveset change, while others simply get a boost to their attack power. I have to say, some of these transformation animations are absolutely insane. Ichigo's, for example, looks super clean. When you're in this mode, you also unlock an ultimate attack, which is usually a huge AoE move that can wipe out multiple enemies at once. My personal favorites have to be Ichigo's, Stark's, and Hollow-Fight Ichigo's. There's also a form of health regeneration in this game. When you take damage, part of the health you lost will show as a darkened orange section on your life bar. If you avoid taking further hits for a few seconds, you can recover that portion of your health, so just don't get smacked again. The character roster sits around 19 playable characters, including some Gotei Tier 10 members, few espadas, and other notable characters from the series like Kakuto, who actually comes from a Bleach movie called Bleach Hellverse, and as well there's like a Hellverse version of Ichigo's costume here as well playable. One downside is that a lot of other important characters are missing, like Orohime, Chad, Renji, Mayuri, and even Kisuke, to name a few. The only way we encounter these characters are during some specific story mission sections where they talk with the playable character. That said, the characters we do have all play very differently. Some characters are more ranged focused like Uryu and Stark, while other characters like Kenpachi are more brute force and excel in close quarter combat. Each character has their own unique moveset, which is something I really appreciate. Kenpachi, for example, is the only character who can perform grab moves, and depending on your input after grabbing, you'll get different attacks. Yoruichi, when using her special attack, combos the opponent repeatedly depending on how long you mash the circle button, but if you mash too long, she gets exhausted and becomes vulnerable. Uryu, being a ranged character, has weak melee attacks but excels at firing arrows in rapid succession. What I love is how each character feels unique and true to their own abilities. This makes playing all the characters unique and fun. Also, even the way projectiles or special attacks behave changes when your character is in the air. And yes, you can also level up each character using the soul points you collected throughout the game, which adds a bit of RPG progression into the mix. Yes, that's right, the game actually has a small RPG mechanic to it. The soul points you gather throughout gameplay can be used on a skill grid. Each skill grid contains upgrades like health boosts, defense increases, attack powers, ignition boosts, and so on. But there are also character specific upgrades. Some characters will let you unlock new battle mechanics like parrying attacks or cancelling out of moves. Others might give you extra lives or make you stronger against certain enemy type. In total, there are 175 levels that you can upgrade per character in this game. That's a lot, and the grind to actually reach the max level is pretty insane, especially if you're aiming for the platinum trophy. To get it, you basically have to do this for all of the available characters, which takes like 8 hours for each character. Plus you need to complete a few other grindy heavy objectives. If you want to see me suffer and see if I'm able to actually get the platinum trophy for this game, let me know in the comments below. I'm kinda eager to try it, but at the same time I'm not. Anyway, the way the grid system works is also kinda clever. These main grids are connected to smaller grids, and each of those smaller ones belongs to the other playable characters in the game. If you level up a certain character enough, you unlock their grid, so other characters can use it to upgrade themselves. I really like this mechanic because it kinda pushes you to try out multiple characters instead of just sticking to your main. At the end of the grid, when you finally max out a character, their grid should look something like this. All I can say is that the combat in this game feels so rewarding, especially once you hit those higher levels. When you're surrounded by a sort of enemies, you're cutting through them like a total badass using all of your over-the-top moves and skills. It just hits different. That feeling is only amplified by the awesome OST that kicks in during fights. Heck, you can put any other OST behind and the action looks sick. After you finish the story mode, the next mode you can try out is the mission mode. Essentially, there are 28 missions where each one has a specific set of rules you need to follow in order to pass. Things like beat a mission with a certain time limit, defeat X amount of enemies, or complete the stage without the ability to jump. These missions are locked in batches. Once you complete a batch of missions, you get another batch. You're able to tackle these missions in any order you like. You can select any characters from the roster to tackle these missions. Fun fact, Kakuto can only be unlocked in this mode, while other characters can be unlocked by playing throughout the story mode. Before each mission, you're able to preview your character's movesets, including the combos they can pull off and the names of each attack. The missions get increasingly harder the further you progress, so leveling up your character becomes essential if you want to clear them all. These missions can be also played in the previously mentioned 3 difficulty levels: normal, hard and very hard. But for very hard, you'll pretty much need to have a maxed character if you want a chance to survive. In this mode, you'll fight against multiple enemy types across different stages. At the end of each mission, there's always a boss fight. These bosses are usually other playable characters, and sometimes you'll be up against up to 3 of them at once, depending on the mission. What's really cool is that every time you face one of these bosses, your playable character and the bosses will have a unique interaction or dialogue, highlighting their relationship in the story. For example, Kakuto vs Ichigo. Yes, they have specific like interactions. What the fuck, dude? Ketsuga Tensho, these nuts. Ichigo vs Kenpachi. Get the Xbox, you can like play every Storm game that is under the sun, except Storm 1, I guess. Because that didn't come out for Xbox. There's tons more of these interactions. Even characters that don't really interact with the main story have some generic lines to them. The missions on normal are fun and manageable, but once you crank up the difficulty they become insane, especially if you're underleveled or missing key upgrades. By completing missions, you're able to earn minifigures which can be checked out in the collection section. Then the other mode we have is Solo Attack. Solo Attack basically has like a specific missions that are catered to like gauntlets. For example, defeat X amount of enemies in a certain time, or try to survive for X amount of time with countless enemies incoming at your way. There's also multiple difficulty levels for this, and that's about it in this mode. I have to say, I really enjoyed this game from a gameplay standpoint. The battle mechanics can get repetitive over time, especially since you're kinda limited to with the combo moves you can do with the character until you unlock the attack cancel skill, but the pure chaos that happens during fights, plus the badass animations for awakenings and ultimate moves, really makes you feel like a beast every time you play. As well, the fact that each character plays differently makes you forget about a boring gameplay loop pretty fast if you change characters regularly. From a story standpoint, it's meh. I actually wanted to try this game earlier before I read the manga, but thank god I didn't, because I would have been lost and super confused about what was going on. A majority of the story is cut and only explained throughout text dumps. The leveling system is a nice touch and encourages you to try out each character. The extra mods are interesting too, and you can definitely have some fun playing through them. Would I recommend this game to a Bleach fan? Yes, if you already know the story and enjoy hack and slash games, I'd say give it a go. But if you're looking to play this to learn / enjoy the story, then nah, don't bother. This was a lot of fun for me to play. But yeah guys, what about you? Have you played this game? If so, how did you like it? And if you didn't like it, why? Let me know in the comments below. I have to give a big shout out to Tunings, Soulpix, Reaper Lord and Mati the Legend for being channel members while I'm currently making this video. Thank you so much guys for the extra support. But yeah guys, that's kinda it from me. I wish you a nice evening and see you in the next video. Bye guys, take care everyone. See ya.